Today's reading is from our book of the month, Soul Currency, by Ernest Chu. I am reading from chapter 4, Eliminating Counterfeit Currency. As soul currency is rooted in love, counterfeit currency is rooted in fear. Beliefs, mindsets, and behaviors based on fear are counterfeit currency. Even if you pass them on to others or invest them in your activities, they will not build spiritual capital for you. They carry the energy of pain and constriction rather than of celebration and growth. Fear creates the illusion in your mind that you are alone and separate from spirit. Fear pulls you into a contraction, saps your energy, makes you feel unsafe. Whereas love, the genuine currency of the soul, is expansive and life-giving and makes you feel joyful. Money, career success, healthy relationships, and personal fulfillment all come from this flowing, infinite source of goodness that cannot be stopped. However, you face a choice. Either you can be like an open riverbed, intentionally guiding the energy of love so that it pours through you smoothly en route to its next destination, or you can be like a boulder-strewn riverbed, filled with a jumble of contradictory thoughts and impulses that impede the flow of love and divert it away from you and into more navigable passageways. Spirit is intelligent and always finds ways to deliver love as swiftly and effortlessly as possible. I'm going to read through today's affirmation, and then I'll ask you to stand and read it with me. I am at one with the source of eternal flow, and my life is rich and fulfilling. Calling forth a full and satisfied consciousness, I live my life on purpose, confidently placing my demand upon the universe and surrendering to its fulfillment. I allow the divine current to flow through me as loving relationships, perfect health, meaningful activity, and complete financial freedom. Please stand and join me with confidence. I am at one with the source of eternal flow, and my life is rich and fulfilling. Calling forth a full and satisfied consciousness, I live my life on purpose, confidently placing my demand upon the universe and surrendering to its fulfillment. I allow the divine current to flow through me as loving relationships, perfect health, meaningful activity, and complete financial freedom. And so it is. Keep clapping a little more. Got it. Oh, thank you, beloved Jessica. I'm so grateful for this community. Are you? Now, I want you to take a moment to imagine something. Imagine that there is someone in this community who is running around gossiping about you. And this person is really telling stories about you and your inadequacies, and all the ways that you don't measure up, and all the ways that your life doesn't work, and all the things that are wrong with you. How you feeling about that person? Not so good, huh? In fact, you might be really irritated, and you might even be really angry that someone is talking about you in these ways and spreading these messages about you around our community. Guess what? That person is you. Anytime you are saying anywhere to anyone in this building, or for that matter, anywhere on planet Earth, that has anything to do with how you're not good enough, or you don't measure up, or you can't, or nobody loves me, or it's not possible, you are telling stories about yourself. And part of the challenge is you actually believe them sometimes. Yes? And you reinforce your belief in them by continuing to tell the stories. But you don't get mad at yourself, do you? Well, wait a minute. Yes, we do. Then we start beating ourselves up for beating ourselves up. What? How is that life affirming? Let me just check in. How is that life affirming? And aren't we in the business of being life affirming? Don't we understand and know the spiritual truth that there's only one life? That life is good. And as we align in consciousness with that life, our life is good. And yet we have these brain ruts. We were talking about this in class the other night. We have these brain ruts where we get stuck in patterns of thinking, and then we talk about them as though they were real. And any time I start a sentence with "I can't," that should be a little bit of a clue to me that I'm making up some story. Anytime I'm saying anything that is self-deprecating, I am telling an untruth about myself. Now, what if instead of becoming angry with this person who's running around telling untruths about you, what if instead of being angry with yourself, you loved yourself just a little bit more, dug a little bit deeper for your spiritual assets, the soul currency of love in you, and said to yourself instead, wow, I'm pretty hard on myself right there. Maybe there's a greater spiritual truth to be known. Maybe there's something that wants to be expressed as me. Maybe my running around gossiping about myself like that is just telling me what is ready to be healed. A greater revelation of truth is ready to make itself known. Am I willing to become a co-participant in that revelation of truth? Because the truth already is, you can't create it. You can only reveal it. And we reveal it when we're ready to reveal it by standing in the spiritual truth. And if we've got that, we can all go home now. But I prepared 10 more minutes, so hang on. Don't go yet. See, we've been talking all month about this thing called soul currency, haven't we? And what is soul currency? Who can tell me? Love. It's love. Thank you. Soul currency is love. It's that spiritual energy that flows from the source of all love. And currency, you remember current. A current is anything that flows. Anything that flows. Anything that flows. And the fact is, the current of the universe is flowing as love at all times. Are we an open channel for it, or do we have all these boulders in the way that direct it in other directions? That's the only question. And these boulders that get in the way of the clear and easy flow of life as love in me are counterfeit currency. Counterfeit currency, all the ways that we let negativity and false beliefs flow in our individual lives. And oh, by the way, this happens in our collective lives too. It happens here. It happens here, right here in our center. Do you know that we have a flow of beliefs about who we are as a spiritual community, about how we do things, about what's working for our center and what isn't? We have a collective set of beliefs. And not only that, we have a collective set of beliefs in our country, don't we? About the way things work and either how good things are or how bad things are. When the fact is, things just are. They just are. And they are because of how we have or have not allowed the currency of love to flow freely in our individual lives, in our collective life as a spiritual community, in our collective life as a country and as a planet. Why do we use counterfeit currency? Why do we employ these false beliefs, these negative ideas, these practices? Because it clearly doesn't work, right? But we do it anyway. Why would we do it anyway? Well, it appears to work, right? It appears to work for a very short time. So let me give you an example. This is not real. Don't want to start any rumors. Let's imagine that I am seeking greater fulfillment. And where I am seeking greater fulfillment is outside of me. Somehow I have been taught that greater fulfillment comes from somewhere out there. That's a false belief. That's counterfeit currency, isn't it? But what I might be doing out of that false belief is looking for fulfillment in some other person and moving through a series of unhealthy relationships because I want someone else to fulfill me. Or what I might be doing is looking to drugs and alcohol to be fulfilled. What I might be doing is engaging in some kind of a TV addiction that has a momentary sense of fulfillment to it. I'm fulfilled for a time. What I might be doing is engaging in any number of behaviors that have a temporary sense of fulfillment to them. You know, one of the things I often see in our movement is workshop addiction. Where the next workshop is going to result in fulfillment, or the next class, or the next Sunday. Somehow my fulfillment is going to come from that. Now, I'm not saying don't go to workshops and don't go to classes. I'm not saying don't watch TV. I'm not saying don't get in relationships. Do it from a place of self-love, from a place of understanding why we are here and from where our true fulfillment comes. It is not the workshop. It comes from our willingness to show up, available, present, do the work. Be part of the group. Be vulnerable. Take risks. Thank you. Take the risk. Show up 100% even when you don't feel like it. Show up 100% even when there's a 10 a.m. Seahawks game. Show up 100% no matter what. Because God is the most important thing in your life. And when I say God, you know I'm talking about that living essence. Connecting more fully with the awareness of oneness with all things. I'm not talking about the person that we've projected onto this notion of God. I'm talking about the most important thing in my life is to know my divinity more fully. And I am willing to engage in whatever it takes to stay in the flow of love, release the false beliefs, and allow that to make itself known as my life. We're going to be about it. No more wading in the shallows. We're sailing for the deep waters. Payoffs. It pays off. We spend our counterfeit currency because there is a short-term payoff. If I believe the world isn't safe, I might engage in a lot of control, right? And somehow there is a short-term payoff. But if we're always engaging in control, I mean, is that sustainable? Of course not. There might be a short-term payoff for me in being a victim, because it's socially acceptable to ask for love when we've been victimized. But what if we could ask for love from a place of strength and power and grace? Because I am the divine one in human form, I am worthy of love. Do you see how that's soul currency? The counterfeit currency is I'm not good enough, I'll never measure up, but please love me just because I'm never going to be good enough and I need extra love. Do you see how that's coming from two different places? And the one limits us and holds us hostage to our old ideas. They are temporary fixes. They are illusions because they are of the world. And the world will never completely satisfy. We will have moments of satisfaction and fulfillment here. And I'm wide open and I don't judge those. Let's go for it. I love a Butterfinger at Halloween as much as anybody. It's satisfying and fulfilling in a really beautiful way. But it's going to go away In fact, in half an hour, I'm going to be having a sugar crash. And then I'm not satisfied and fulfilled anymore. But I tell you, there is no sugar crash in God. As you open your heart more and more fully, there is only infinite love, infinite grace, infinite satisfaction and fulfillment to make itself known. So how do we convert our counterfeit currency, our false beliefs, to spiritual capital that we can invest? Spiritual capital that we can see a life-affirming return on. So your first step, are you ready? You got 3 steps. Your first step is to recognize the counterfeit currency. You know how when you go into the store and you give them a $100 bill and they hold it up to the light and they feel it and they, right? You know? See, we have to become just as conscious. We have to hold up our thinking and our feeling to the light. Feel it. Turn it over. Look at both sides. Read it. Is it right? Does it have the little strip in it? Is it real? We become conscious of our thinking and our feeling, recognizing that true meaning comes from within. And if I'm thinking or feeling anything comes from without, I just need to apply a little more love. I need to dig a little deeper for my spiritual assets like love, like determination, like conviction, the things that I'm called to express in the world. So we stop looking for meaning out there and we shift our perspective to oneness. And we practice that, right? Because the illusions are very seductive, right? The Butterfinger bar is very seductive. The television is very seductive. Even the workshop is very seductive. But remember, where are we coming from as we engage in this way of being? We shift our perspective to oneness and unity and enjoy the Butterfinger from there, or the TV show from there, or the workshop from there. Open and willing hearts. So the first is to recognize your payoffs and consciously think about them. Recognize them as temporary fixes and let them go. And that involves risk. But you'll be good because God's got your back. God's got your back. Number 2. Oh, you know what? I just mixed up 1 and 2. Sorry. That was 1 and 2. Number 1 is to recognize those payoffs, recognize where true meaning comes from. And then number 2 is to be conscious to think about what you think and feel. Okay? Got it? Now, here's the other thing about recognizing what you're thinking and feeling. In the book, Ernest Chu talks about this as your executive committee, if you've read the book. I'm just going to say this. I have this little thing that I recognize within my mind. I call it the itty-bitty shitty committee. Okay? It's the IBSC. Okay? And this itty-bitty committee tells me things. Oh, you didn't do that very well. Well, you don't look very nice today. Is your makeup okay? Is it, you know, that this is the voices in your head that are continually passing judgment, continually telling you what's right and what's wrong, what's okay and what's not. And we have to neutralize our IBSC. Because that's just your head. That's just your thinking. There is no spiritual truth in your thinking. We recognize that for what it is. It's the old voices from our past. It's the training. It's the counterfeit currency that is passing judgment. It's kind of like the jury that we employ to continually pass judgment and apply sentences, if you will, to our lives. So what we have to do is acknowledge that what these committee members are doing is just showing us where we're wounded. It's just showing us where healing wants to make itself known. That's all. So you say, oh, thank you, itty-bitty committee, for that awareness. And now, hush. I'm not listening anymore. I'm taking that awareness and I am turning to God for fulfillment. I am turning to the infinite mind for fulfillment. Now, one of the things you can do to kind of neutralize this committee is create your own team in your head. My team is made up of Reverend Nirvana Gale, who was one of my great mentors and teachers as I was coming up as a minister, and he passed away a couple years ago, and I have him in my head. And when I run into tough stuff, or when my little committee starts going, I ask myself, now what would Nirvana say about this? Oh, he would stand in the truth. He would know a higher truth about me, right? So he's on my committee. Jesus is on my committee. Okay, I'm in a tough spot. I don't know what to do. Or I'm hearing these little voices in my head that say I'm not good enough, not pretty enough, don't measure up, whatever the story is. Really, I got Jesus on my team. He got some serious wisdom going there, right? Seek first the kingdom and all else is added unto you. Don't pay attention. It is, your belief is what counts, right? So you can form your own little committee in your brain, and you might write out their names and who they are and why they're important to you, just to seal it so you don't forget. And then you just call them forth at any time. And any time the itty-bitty committee gets moving, it's like, oh, hush up. I'm going to come over here and listen to Reverend Nirvana. I'm going to come over here and listen to Jesus. I'm going to come over here and listen to somebody who actually knows the spiritual truth about me and about my situation. So becoming conscious about what you think and how you feel is about creating ways that you support yourself, that you recognize, oh, this is my soul telling me there's something to be healed. Now let me turn to wisdom about that. Where am I called? How is the healing to happen? But don't turn to the itty-bitty committee because they don't know. Reverend Nirvana knows. Jesus knows. God knows. Whoever your spiritual mentors know. They know. And there's how many minds? One mind. All that is known to the mind of God is known to you and available to you. How many hearts? One heart. All that is known to the heart of God is known to your heart. You cannot be separate from it. And so we anchor in those who have known the spiritual truth before us and use them as our mental mentors. And then number 3, your third way to convert counterfeit currency to spiritual capital is to get yourself part of a spiritual community. Oh, look, you're doing it right now. Huh. How lucky was that? The universe conspired to bring you here this morning. You see, what we do in spiritual community is we support you in knowing the truth of your being, right? Even when you don't really want to know the truth of your being. But that's what we're about here, is supporting you in knowing the spiritual truth, even when the itty-bitty committee is going on, even when life seems hard, even when the payoffs seem really tempting. Our job is to support you in being conscious. It's to support you in recognizing those payoffs, recognizing their illusory nature, recognizing that you can do better, and supporting you in doing and being all of that. And how cool is that you have us to do that? Now, as I said earlier, we do have in our community, as in every community, a collective counterfeit currency, right? We do have collective false beliefs. One of my favorites in churches is that in the summer, attendance and giving goes down. How many of you have ever heard that or said that? It's a false belief. It is done unto us as we believe. And you know what probably happened? In 1832, one church had a low Sunday in early June, and in order to make themselves feel better and not like, oh, nobody wanted to come to my church, some minister said, attendance and giving goes down in the summer. And then what is known in consciousness? It's done unto us as we believe, right? And then we start camping out in that, and we let that false belief fester. And pretty soon, attendance and giving goes, yes, it happens in my church too. It's It's hard to get people to volunteer. People are so busy now, they can't serve in the church. These are our collective false beliefs. The truth is, the spiritual truth is, the right people are called to serve at the right time. The spiritual truth is, for those who are on the conscious spiritual path, God is the most important thing. And they make time for it. You can tell. You can tell. People for whom God is the most important thing, do they make time for it? You can tell people for whom their relationship is important. They make time for it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like anything. We have time to do the things that are really important to us. I promise you. So, your time, your results, as Emma Curtis Hopkins would say, tell you what you believe. Do you hear that? If you want to know what you believe, look at your results. Oh, take a deep breath on that one. Dang. And yet, our results are simply our teachers. It's the thing to tell us, where does healing need to take place? That's all. And so we don't make it wrong. We don't make ourselves wrong. See, that's counterfeit currency, to make it wrong. We simply open our hearts more fully to the healing that is wanting to take place. And we simply say yes to that healing. So are you ready to do a little bit of that healing? We're going to say a little prayer for release of false beliefs. And so I invite you to take the sacred breath with me as we open our hearts more fully to the awareness that there is only one life, one presence, one power. There are, so many names for it. The living one, God, essence, energy, spirit, presence, the universe, idea, mind, thought. All of these and more, the names of God, that from which all things have sprung, that to which all things return. The name of God is good. And the name of God is love. Infinite love, bubbling up and overflowing the universe, is awash in the power and the presence of love. The soul currency of love flows infinitely and effortlessly from one end of the universe to the other, that has no end, no beginning, no end. That which is, that which always has been, always will be, is the essence and the power of complete love. And I recognize right now God is love, and I unify with that love. I know the spiritual truth that as God is all there is, I am one with God, created in its image and likeness. And even as God has infinite love, I am infinite love. Right here in my body, every cell comes alive with love. My heart beats with love. And as it is true for me, it is true for every person in this room. We are aligned with the power of God as love right here and right now. We simply come alive with that awareness that love is who we are. Every pore in our bodies opening and exuding love. Every cell, every bone, every sinew alive with the presence of love. Our hearts beating love. Our minds aligned with the spiritual truth of love. And so I realize right now a deep spiritual truth for myself and for every person in this room. There is no longer any need for us to embody or embrace any counterfeit currency, any false belief. We release any old beliefs of judgment, of not good enough, of not measuring up. We simply allow those to fade into the nothingness from which they came and stand in love. Self-love, God love, universal love. That which is the truth of who we are makes itself known right now. And so we walk in love, we talk in love, we stand in love. Everything we say or do or think or feel is anchored in the power of God love, infinite love. We speak kindly about and to ourselves. We speak kindly about others and to others. We embrace everyone and everything we see in a cloak of love. And this is easy. We are present to it. We simply allow it to be. And so I do give thanks for the infinite love of God making itself known as my life, as the life of everyone in this room. I give thanks that the universe is a presence of love, and that we are at one with it. And so I close this prayer and I close this message with a grateful heart, knowing that we have been transformed by the power of love to heal, to lift, to inspire us to new heights of affirming life. I give thanks for it. I let it be. And so it is. Amen.